Hello dear partners, and welcome to the Sales and Marketing Expert Capsule. I'm your host, Maxime Provencher, and today I'm joined by Michael Slater. He is our Technical Solutions Manager for our Cloud PBX solution. Michael, thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So before we start and we get into the subject today about tactics for selling SureWeb's voice over IP solution, could you please tell people about your background and what you're doing here at SureWeb for our partners?
Sure. So real quick, I've had a lot of experience in the industry, functioning in different parts of it. So started off in support. Eventually I decided it's a lot more lucrative to sell telecom than it is to fix it. So after 5 years of working in that side of the industry, I shifted over into a sales role. From there, I gravitated towards small office PBX, and I also sold everything up to and including very complex hosted call center projects, right? Where everything is in the cloud top to bottom. I was brought on here to kind of accelerate SureWeb's progress as a cloud provider for telephony, and I'm just one of the many experts we have here now. Now we have a team with over 50 years of experience, and I'm the junior with 10 years. So it gives you an idea of the scale we're working with now.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you mentioned that because when it comes to adding new products to their product offering, SureWeb is very, very serious. And every time we start a new product line, we definitely build a team of world-class experts, so that our partners get the best people possible in the industry to work with. So without further ado, let's get into the subject. So where should you start when you want to sell Cloud PBX as an MSP that hasn't started yet? So personally, we think that you should get started by targeting the right people. It's all about targeting. So we think here personally that the easiest people to approach when it comes to targeting is people that have on-prem PBX with the traditional telecom providers. These people will be the easiest to target to get you started. And Michael, could you please comment basically on the weaknesses that on-prem traditional PBXs have compared to Cloud PBX?
Sure, I'll do that, and we'll take it even one step further.
Great.
So we kind of go back a little bit, and we approach the comment of why this is the best market to approach, and that's a great question to start off with. There's really three types of clients you can approach for PBX when you're an MSP. There's ones that have an existing Cloud PBX solution, maybe they're not happy with, but it's a very competitive, hyper commoditized space right now, so maybe you want to avoid that conversation. There's customers that have traditional on-premise PBX, which is the ones that we're going to talk about today, and there's ones that'll have kind of a telco system with analog cables running in where they just have one telephone, nothing on-premise. Kind of on-prem traditional PBX falls into that last two categories where you have people who are dealing with a carrier, maybe a premise PBX, maybe not, but either way they're dealing with two expensive factors. One is the ongoing cost of ownership through licensing through an on-premise system. You're dealing with the upkeep of having staff to have to be experts in this particular product. And you're also dealing with the high telco carrier costs, things like long distance, things like paying, extra money for voicemail boxes, things like paying for licensing per trunk. Again, it can be a very expensive exercise for a very small business to maintain. So when you walk in with your value proposition being that we can take all that away, that we can get rid of the solution and save you 65% off your bill, that kind of client who's stuck into that contract, who's stuck into that analog world with that very expensive total cost of ownership, is the prime candidate to consider switching over their PBX to something in the cloud, something that's managed, something with a small, ongoing, very modest fee that provides maybe 10 times the amount of features they currently have in their old school analog PBX system.
And what about as far as pricing goes for the actual service monthly? My personal experience, because I have experience back in the telecom industry doing mobile, and it seems to me that prices are very, very inflated. Here at SureWeb, I know that our price for our services is pretty good actually. It's very, very extremely good value. Do you think there is also an opportunity perhaps for partners to ask people with traditional PBXs to compare the invoices? Do you think that's a good way to open conversation?
Definitely. I would say that, kind of one of the standard sales tactics we have in our industry has always been to get the competing phone bill. So particularly where you're in an analog world and you've been operating through a big carrier, this is like a Spectrum or an AT&T in the United States, maybe a Shaw or a TELUS if you're in Canada. Typically, they're charging an inflated rate for long distance. Typically, they're charging a lot for toll-free usage. They might be charging for conference bridges. There'll be a lot of added expense that you'll find in this bill. And the bill will give you two things. It'll give you the ability to correctly scope the project from day one. You'll get an idea of how many phone numbers they have. You'll get an idea of what their toll for usage is like, so you can prepare the best quote. And it'll give you a sales opportunity to go and say, hey, comparing apples to apples, this service costs $500 a month for telecom, and ours, including the PBX, will be $300 for something comparable. Again, that's a very conservative estimate. On average, we're saving between 40 and 65% from customers coming off an incumbent on-prem system. So usually it sells itself at that point.
Wow, so there you go. So huge price difference. So this is really for you as MSPs that are starting. This is one of the best ways for you to get in the conversation. It's great that we're going down that path, because it takes us to our next subject, which I would like to address, which is the questioning path. So basically, conversation openers. Which questions should you start asking to open the conversation with customers? So there you go. We have here the bill. So perhaps just ask an open-ended question to your customer and be like, what do you think about the current pricing for your telecom solutions? Do you have other questioning paths, perhaps not necessarily economical, but technical, that you think partners should be asking to open the conversation with for Cloud PBX?
I would say that there are a set of technical questions that you should be asking. But there's also a set of more empirical customer experience questions you should be asking too.
Okay.
And these are kind of both along the same lines, and it's a natural path to ask these things in succession. So one of the first questions we generally like to ask in our industry is, well, what do you currently have? Like, what are you using right now? You get a brand name, maybe a model, an idea of what they're doing, because they'll give you an idea of what they're doing feature-wise. You can kind of compare the solution you approach with SureWeb with what they have right now and make sure that we can match all the features they need, right? That's the first step of qualification. Then we can ask other questions on top of that. We can say, well, what's your current customer experience when someone tries to reach you through the phone? Generally speaking, again, most people for a serious deal or approaching a serious company, one of the first things they'll do is reach out via phone call. Right, that's not going away anytime soon, So you want to think, what's that call path like? Do they go to the person they need to talk to the quickest, or does it take a long time to get to that person? Is it complex? Is it needlessly complex? Do we have enough options to make sure everything's routed in the same way? Do we have somebody who's maybe being inundated with phone calls? Can we make that better? So that's another thing you want to think about. You also want to think about ideas of, what would you like to do to make your system better? So not only taking into account the existing solution, the current mindset for your customer experience, but what could you do to add to make things even better? Do you want the idea of having an on-call that's always reachable, right, in an emergency situation? With our system, you can do that. With a lot of aging analog systems, you can't, right? So kind of prompt the customer to use their imagination and really kind of don't set a limit on anything. Don't say we don't do this. Just approach them with the idea that we want to help you optimize your business, as this really is the lifeline to your outside world and to how you function. So we need to reinforce that idea, make them feel important, make the telecom feel as important as it should be. And by doing that, we get all the technical information we need, we get all the sales information we need, and we can really put together a competing solution that fixes the client pain, which is the main focus of what we do here.
Very nice, very nice. So questionings has been covered. I mean, once you cover the questioning, next thing you would do, of course, is perhaps make an offer. And this is the third subject we're going to be addressing today. We'll be building a profitable offer and also delivering it well to your customer for the first time. So there's a lot of technical things, of course, to do when setting up the Cloud PBX. We have a webinar for the product that we did a couple of months ago. Make sure you check that out if you haven't looked at it yet. We won't be digging into deep with all that is done by SureWeb in the back end to help you guys do the setup. But what I want today is really tap into building an offer. There's many things out there, some secrets of the trade that we'd like to share with you guys. Even if you're a beginner, it's your first time, you shouldn't be stopped by that. You can be able to sell Cloud PBX right away. People here at SureWeb are ready to help you, and there's plenty of tools that are available to you. So that's what I would like to discuss now. What do you know? Can you tell us about the tools that you know that are out there that are good, that can help partners do some of the technical setups that are required?
Definitely. So now we'll go through this hypothetical situation. So now we've asked all of our relevant questions. We have all the information we need. We now have a proposal. So not only is it important to give this proposal and have the end users sign off on it, understand what they're buying, but now we also have to do a certain amount of technical background to make sure the solution works. Anybody in our industry has obviously heard the timeless story about, oh, Cloud PBX doesn't work because there's problems with it. The quality is bad. There's network issues. More often than not, these are actually located client side. So what you want to have is you want to have a suite of tools and checks to make sure that when we do install Cloud PBX for the end user's PBX, that they're going to get the best possible experience. So for us to ensure that quality, run tests on the network. It's as simple as that. I mean, everything can be done from a basic speed test, right? Where there's a million different applications you can download or websites you can visit. They'll give you an idea of the connection. Typically speaking, you want anywhere between 70 to 100 kilobytes per sec per active connection that we have on the PBX at one time. On top of that, then we can do what I consider a long-term quality assessment on the network, which is that second piece that's very important to do. At this point, you'd approach maybe a vendor like a ping plotter, right? You install it locally on one of the machines on the customer network, run it over a 7-day period, and it'll give you a breakdown of the internet traffic. So you can see if there's any spikes, if there's any massive latency, if there's any issues like jagged lines dictating that there's an ongoing network issue that maybe they didn't know about in the first place. Because VoIP is really almost like the canary in the mine when it comes to network quality issues, and it's one of the first things that suffers from a lack of quality. So more often than not, the VoIP service is adequate. In reality, it's the networking that has the problem. So not only is this an opportunity for you to kind of make sure the solution works, you can also use it as an upsell opportunity. You can go in and offer your services to fix the network. You can offer your services to provide extra value. You can add that into your MSP package that, every time you buy it, I'll go on site for a $500 value and I'll inspect your entire network top to bottom. You can then sell switches, you can sell cabling, you could sell an entire suite of services all around this fix. Again, the more you get involved with your customer, especially on projects like this, the more value you prove, the more stickiness you retain, the better partner you are to your end user.
That's very interesting. I mean, there's so many things that you can build as professional services, just like Michael mentioned here. So it makes selling Cloud PBX a very, very profitable opportunity as far as managed services goes, and not just also the monthly billing, which with SureWeb here can go up to 40% margin. So when you start, packaging all these managed services plus, the margin you'll be making monthly in a recurring fashion, this could turn Cloud PBX into one of your most profitable business lines in your business. So on the technical side, this was very interesting, but there's also really setting up the actual products when it comes to IVR, when it comes to voice prompts and all. Do you have some tools out there or some sites that partners could use to perhaps sublet at a very cheap price all these tasks instead of having their technicians do it themselves?
Definitely. So, in our industry, there's kind of two different routes you can take on that. And, voice services is a great point to touch on. So one path you can take is you can go through like a pay-per-hour website like Fiverr, give a couple of bucks and get someone to record a voice line that way. Definitely one option. And then you can kind of go on the opposite end of that and you can outsource this to an existing firm that specializes in that, And one of the upsides of dealing with a firm like that is they will produce something that's quality, often multilingual, as many as you like. They employ voice actors from all over the world. And then you usually get a commission based on the business you bring into them. So technically, for even a small IVR, it's usually around $500 to $1,000 for services, and they'll cut you a 25% check just for the introduction. So again, it's a way that you can even monetize. So this isn't, you can make money off the recordings, you can get a commission back, and you can make sure that your technicians, your staff are free to do their jobs, right? So there's a million different ways to do it, all levels of involvement. It's like our partner program, right? You can do anything from an advisor to white label, and you can have that same relationship with a voice actor as well too.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow. So there you go. Voice over IP. I mean, Cloud PBX is one of the most profitable products that you have. There's millions of opportunities. Michael here is available to talk to you. So as a partner, if you want to book Michael for a personal call, he's available. Just go through your account manager and we will get him on the phone with you.
Definitely.
So this is a wrap for this month's Sales and Marketing Expert Capsule. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you tune in next month as we will be tackling multi-tenant environments for infrastructure as a service. this will be a good one as well. But until then, happy selling. I'm your host, Maxime Provencher. Michael, thank you for coming.
Thanks a lot.
See you next time, guys.